everyone and welcome back to another video. So we have a mukbang today, which we haven't done. I think we've only ever done one mukbang before, and it was when we came back from Lanzarote last year. So it's been over a year. We have a Nando's. We don't live somewhere that has great options for food, to be completely honest. So
takeaway food. We do for restaurants. Restaurants are decent.
It's alright. But we have a Nando's. We love a Nando's, but we just don't like the place that we get it from. Like, we get our local Nando's is the Cramlington one, and they're atrocious. So the food's gonna be okay. We are doing opinions today. I wanted to make them like controversial opinions. I asked on my Instagram for topics. Is that a good word?
Yeah.
I haven't had a huge amount of response. So we're going to run through the ones that people have suggested, and then if it takes like no amount of time, Oakley is crying because we're on the floor eating, he wants the food. If we have loads of time, I'll just look at some controversial ones on the internet. Does that sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? I want to sort my food out because I am hungry. What have you got?
The Peri Tamer burger.
The Great Imitator one.
The Great Imitator one, sorry,
I'm going to take that out.
Peri Tamer, because we don't like spice from Nando's. We don't really like peri spice, do we?
No.
I got chips and coleslaw, and then I got a hummus starter. It comes with a chili oil, but I don't really like it either, so just the hummus.
Okay. I have the... What's it called?
Pinot Feta.
Fino Pita. The Fino Pita, again, Peri Tamer, and chips, tender stem broccoli, and that is it. So, should we get started?
Yeah.
Should we start with a tame one that our lovely Ellen gave to us? I'm going to have to be so careful and not talk with them out, while I'm eating, because people do not like that. But it's hard when you're doing a mukbang. I don't know what people expect you to do.
As I chew, you talk, and as you chew, I entertain.
Alright, okay. It's going to have to be a well-oiled machine. Right, so, folding down corners of books as page markers.
Get in the bin.
I do not like it either. I'm a lot less strict with books than Jack is, though. I will use a bookmark and stuff, but Jack won't even crack his spine on a book. I think that's excessive. I think that's a little bit ridiculous. You read a book to read a book. You should be able to crack a spine. I think it's a bit ridiculous that you won't crack a spine.
I think that's just the bar for being respectful when we read it.
Respectful?
Yeah.
It's a book.
Yeah, but it's a book. It's your only book.
Yeah, but...
In 100 years, that book that you've bought is going to be like those books you see that are like 100 years old, but they're just falling apart because the spine's cracked.
Well, no, because it'll be lovely. You'll see that it's been read. If you came across a book without the spine cracked, it's just going to look like no one's ever bought it.
In a bookstore where you... And we're not even talking about the 400 pages thing here yet.
No. Well, we've already talked about it.
In a bookstore, if you see a book... If you're looking at books and there's like 5 of the books that you want to buy, and one of them's got a spine crack, would you avoid buying that one?
In a used bookstore?
No, like any bookstore.
If I'm in a used bookstore, then I'll probably go for the cracked spine one.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the one that's not? Okay, I'd do the opposite.
They're easier to read. It's hard enough reading a book in bed, having to hold it if it's heavy and stuff. They're not like Jack's like this, like he's like It's awful. I don't care. I'm all for autonomy, so I don't even mind writing in books. I've underlined in one of my books.
Which one?
The Mind the Gap one that you're reading.
I'm not sure about you.
No, was it the Mind the Gap one? It might have been A Curious History of Sex. In non-fiction books, I would underline them. It's a book. There are thousands in this world. It doesn't matter if one of them or however many of them's got stuff. If you want to fall down your corners, fair enough, but I just think you should get a bookmark. It's a very simple thing to not do, and it makes it not lie flat. And I'd prefer for it to lie flat. Inheritance tax. That's all Jen said.
Okay. What do you take that as?
If it should be a thing.
No, I don't think it should, because you've already been, effectively, you should already have been taxed on that money in terms of income tax or corporation tax or any tax because it's personal income. I don't think it's fair that, if you think about it like as if it was Sims, there's money in that family, and then it's unfair for the government and HMRC to then take more money from that pot when it's already like with somebody. That makes sense.
What if it was Bezos though?
That's a whole other conversation, because I'd still stand on the same, but I think you should be taxed more generally. I think general tax should be changed in the way it's done.
Yeah.
But inheritance tax shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah. So I'm pretty ignorant of the topic. I wouldn't say that I know a lot, so if my opinion is ignorant, please let me know. But I don't really understand it as to why, just because it's passing hands, it should have to be taxed again. It's like, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, if your family's worked really hard and they've chosen to have children, I would imagine, for nice parents, that they would say that they've worked so hard so that their family can have a nicer life.
Yeah.
So then why is it fair for them to then lose that money? Essentially, it's kind of like, oh, well, they've died. It's not their money anymore. But it's like, it should stay with whoever they want. It's not, I don't think it's fair that money gets taken away from it. And I understand that the country needs tax and things like that. But going off, like, agreeing with Jack, we just need to tax bigger companies better. Like, take it from the companies that are making billions per year, not somebody who's managed to save away 50 grand to give to their children. Like, it's ridiculous. There are bigger pots to take from in this country.
I think as well there's loads of other factors that take into play, because if you just lost a parent and you're receiving money and you've been taxed on that inheritance, you've got things like the funeral to pay for. They may have sorted that, but there's still money going out for the funeral to pay for. Stuff like, I don't know, well, you've just lost your parents, so I imagine your performance at work you might need to take some time off. You're going to make less money, and then the government's taking more tax from you. It's just...
But why should the government have it?
Unfair.
It's not fair. Like you said,
it's already been taxed.
they've already had some of it. I understand where people might have an issue with it when it's like big families that have had like huge amounts of money forever. But again, they should be getting taxed more anyway if they have like a huge amount of money. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure there are reasons, but I just don't understand it. And like I say, I'm very ignorant, so I don't even know if there's like a minimum or a maximum. Like, is it any inheritance, or do you reckon it's like over a certain amount that there is tax?
I might be wrong as well, because I don't know too much about it, but from experiences of happening within the family, I think it might be banded.
Right, should we have a look?
Yeah, look.
There's no inheritance to pay if it's below 325 grand.
325 grand?
325 grand. If it's below that, you don't have inheritance tax.
Right.
Fuck it. Oh, I need to stop, sorry. The standard inheritance tax is 40%.
Right.
So if your estate is worth more than so it's your estate as well. So that's houses as well. It's everything. That's not just money.
Yeah.
That's everything. So if somebody had a house that was worth 600 grand and they left it to their child, which in London, let's face it, it's probably not that difficult. So your estate is worth 500 grand and your tax-free threshold is 325 grand. The inheritance tax charge will be 40% of 175 grand, so there's a threshold.
Wow.
The estate can pay a reduced rate of 36% on some assets if you leave 10% or more to charity in your will.
Right.
I don't know, I think that's your money. Like, you should be able to decide where it goes.
I don't know, do you think there's like... I
don't think there's a lot of money.
Yeah. What's included in the estate. So like if
anything you're leaving, I would
so
imagine.
if I'm a major shareholder on Amazon, would that be included within my estate, do you think?
If you'd left your
My
shares to your children or
Okay.
whoever this is happening
So in
to.
theory, and this isn't giving tips on how to avoid inheritance tax, but you could probably
I'm
avoid
sure
that.
you're probably wrong anyway.
Yeah. But I suppose you could probably sell those shares or give away those shares before you die, and then you'd avoid the inheritance
Yeah,
tax.
then you've got to know when you're going to die, and then you've got to.
Yeah.
The money's still going to get taxed.
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't know, because like that makes it different because it is a lot of money, but I don't know. I think because you've been taxed on it already, assuming that you have and you haven't done some shady bloody tax stuff, you have already been taxed on it, and I don't think it's fair that just because it's moving from one person to another person that it should be taxed again.
Yeah.
But like I say, well, like we say, please correct us if you think we're wrong. Okay, the lovely Katrina gave 3. So, marijuana use. I'm going to clarify now, there are some of these that I don't know where I stand.
Okay.
Marijuana use, go.
I haven't read all the research. Obviously, we've done. I think everybody in our kind of age range did some stuff in school about it. And I might be wrong, so if I'm wrong, just ignore everything I say, to be honest. I think because it's safer than it's presumed to be, to my knowledge, and I'm sure, I don't know if it's a rumour or people say that it's safer than tobacco, longer
And
term,
alcohol.
and alcohol. So like, yeah, I don't mind. I think
Yeah.
To an extent, it depends to what level, but I suppose that's the same with anything, isn't it? Really, if you get really drunk all the time and cause mayhem, then obviously there's kind of disturbance of peace there, or what do they call it? Is that what they call it?
I don't know.
Drunk and disorderly type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you can still get arrested for that kind of thing. I think there should be the same kind of procedures in place for marijuana use. I think it's unfair. You see this a lot on TV and movies where people who are like critically ill and stuff like that, they benefit from it and they can't get it because it's illegal, when really it is to my knowledge safe. I think that's unfair. So I'm on the fence of it should probably be legal, and I think it should probably be controlled in the same way as, or in a similar way to what alcohol and tobacco should be. That's my thoughts on it.
I kind of flip between different opinions, but they're all dependent on other stuff. So, first up, I just want to say medical marijuana should be 100% legal. I don't understand why it's not, when it's shown to be a massive pain relief for so many people who are going through so much pain in their life. I don't even think that's an argument in my head. Medical marijuana should be legalised everywhere. But in this current situation that we are in the world, with alcohol and tobacco being completely free out there, well, not free, but you know what I mean, and like
anyone can get it.
Yeah, it's legal. There's no limits to it apart from being like, if you're too drunk in a bar, you're not allowed to be served. But let's face it, a lot of people don't abide by that rule. In that current climate, it should be legalised. It's ridiculous that alcohol is legal and weed isn't. Like, alcohol causes so many more problems than weed. And I'm just going to say, if you're new, I am biased. I don't drink. And I don't like drinking. So I am biased 100%. But I think that I don't understand how alcohol, when it causes so much pressure on the NHS, on the police, well, ACAB, but on the police, on the cities, because the litter, the damage, the theft, things like that. Marijuana doesn't even come close to it for how much damage it wreaks. And in this climate, it just doesn't make sense that it's not legal. I would say in the ideal world, it should be legal but have like limits to it. So I think like cigarettes have that, don't they? You can only buy a certain amount or something.
You can only buy a certain amount, I think.
Right.
And you've got to be 16 to buy them. No, you've got to be 18 to buy them.
No, you can buy cigarettes at 16.
I thought you could smoke at 16, but you've got to buy them at 18.
Oh, yeah, that might be right.
Yeah.
But maybe not limits than what I was saying, but like I think it should be sold like alcohol and weed, not alcohol and weed, alcohol and tobacco, not to a point where it's completely commercialised, because I don't like that. I think it's ridiculous anyway. But to a point where you have to go to like a licensed vendor to buy it. Like not everybody should just be able to sell it. Obviously, people could sell it. People buy alcohol and then resell it. But I think it should be sold in that way, and that you have to be licensed. I mean, you could have local sellers and local producers, because obviously you can grow it in this country, but I think you should have to be licensed to sell it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I just think that a lot of people take the mick with it, and then it can be licensed for like how much it costs and things like that, rather than just some dealers taking the absolute mick.
Yeah. So in a world where that is happening, it's legal and it's prohibited like that, what's your opinion on the taxes that are put on alcohol?
That's the thing, like that's the other thing. But like, I don't know. I think if nicotine and like tobacco and alcohol is going to be taxed, then yeah, weed should be taxed. It's the same type of thing. Not medical. This is excluding medical. I think medical should be like any other kind of prescription.
Yeah.
But it's an enjoyment thing at the end of the day. It's a leisure thing, and we have taxes on leisure products currently. This isn't even going at the argument of like capitalised, what's it called? Capitalism and all that kind of stuff, because we have opinions on that anyway.
Yeah.
But in the current climate, yeah, I think it kind of should be taxed. And it brings up the discussion of should all drugs be legalised if it was like done in an okay way, because then could it be safer? Because you know how people can buy however much they want now, and then people can overdose and stuff like that. And I know it could still happen, but then if it was done in a safe way, should all drugs be legalised? Because at the end of the day, it's kind of free will. It's up to people if they want to do it.
I think because I might be wrong about this as well, but I think I don't think drugs have been recategorised that well since like researchers came about
what, like classes?
Like yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
So
I've read something about that.
To that, should all drugs be legal? I think there's limitations on that for the class of drug and the damage it could cause and stuff like that. And the drugs that have been proven not to be beneficial in any way, they're just hallucinogenics that don't help you in any way or anything like that. And maybe they shouldn't be legal. But I don't know. You just
feel like a rabbit, why aren't you properly? I think like I don't see the argument why people don't think it should be legalised in any manner for how mild of a drug it is. I don't know if people have a perception of it as a different drug to what it is. We don't smoke at all, so I don't know, but we've been around a lot of people who have smoked regularly, like so we see what kind of, but we've also, from the place that we've grown up, we've seen people on a lot of different drugs. So I think we recognised how much of a mild drug marijuana is. So I don't know if people don't want it legalised because they don't understand that it's not like it's like ket or something. And I don't know if people's arguments is like, well, people could drive when they're high or something like that, but then like I'm saying with alcohol, like drink driving is horrific as well, but we're still allowed to buy alcohol. Like I don't get it.
Yeah. Put this in if you want as well, but I'll keep saying that just in case you want to put it out, you know. So like we've seen like I think a lot of people as well have seen the damage that tobacco does, so it's kind of like is it a balance of should they not be switched completely, but should tobacco be less legal than marijuana because of the damage of lung cancer and every other, you know, lung-related, smoke-related illness and death that happens. Which
I don't know how much weed affects your lungs compared to tobacco, but there's not tar in it.
Yeah.
So I imagine it wouldn't be as bad.
If bad at all, it might not be.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's true.
Because there is an argument there.
Yeah, because like I've been talking mainly about alcohol, but yeah, there is the whole kind of tobacco side of it where it's like it literally kills people. Like it's not even like it's up in the air. Like it literally kills people.
I mean, my grandma died of it. She never met you. Which you probably could have. I mean, my granddad's still kicking and he'll be around for a long time. But maybe if my grandma didn't smoke. And it's the type
of thing where it was the smoking for your grandma. It wasn't up in the air. Like it was 100%.
It wasn't cancer, but it was just so much tar in her lungs that she just couldn't deal with it.
She couldn't breathe.
But yeah, like if she didn't smoke as much, she'd probably still be around now, probably still be around for a long time, but she's not, and it's...
And again, that's her choice, but why is that legal for people to kill themselves in that way, but then not legal for people to smoke weed? I don't know, I don't get it, but yeah, I'd probably say that I am pro legalising it, but in a
safe way.
In a safe way, yeah. Gun control. I don't think this is going to be a long discussion. I think Katrina's from America, so that's why she mentioned it. Because obviously we live in the UK, we don't have guns unless they're farmers or policemen. So in this country, I'm happy the way it is. In America, obviously we don't have that right to talk about it, but I think it's absolutely ridiculous that there are guns. Like,
I don't think they should exist at all. I don't think there's any. No. And you probably might get arguments about this in your comment section, but I don't think there's any use case for guns that is justified.
Even in farming?
Even in farming, I don't think there is.
Jack's a vegan.
Yeah. But not just that, I just don't think they should be. You know,
what about like rodents? Like, you know how people do it with what they're called? Things that are in the rivers.
Yeah, but there's other ways. There's other ways to go about it, and I think that's...
No, I agree.
Probably more humane ways as well to go about it than that.
We live in Northumberland, which is what, like 90% countryside.
Yeah.
So we actually hear guns more than probably what the majority of the UK would, because we literally it's like there's farms everywhere, so we probably hear guns way more than what you'd think.
Yeah.
But it's awful. It's awful. Hearing it and knowing what that is is awful.
And I don't know if this is a topic that somebody suggested, but even in the sense of wars, I don't think... Is it a question?
War?
Yeah, is that one of your topics?
No.
Right, okay. So wars, I don't think... And it's hard to say...
Are you bringing in this topic, are you?
But in the sense of war as well, I'd be happy if we went back to, swords and shit like that, archery and stuff. Over guns, because I just think there shouldn't be about, even in that sense as well.
So obviously, it's hard for us to talk about because we are British. We weren't alive with guns. Have we? Or was it when we were younger when we were banned? It was the 80s, right? When they got... We've never known guns. It's very, very rare for us to hear about guns being misused. I think where your dad lives now, there's been like 2 cases up there in the last like 20 years. There's here and there, but it's the type of thing, if you hear about it, you're like, what?
I think that probably one of the most recent biggest things that has happened in that is Ralmot.
There's Ralmot, but he was a policeman. The most recent thing is the Liverpool one.
I mean up here, sorry. I'm sorry.
Ralmot. It's such a weird thing to talk about. If you don't know Ralmot was basically a police officer who found out another police officer was sleeping with his wife. He went after that police officer, stole his gun, and then went on the run in Northumberland with a gun. And like they ended up having like a standoff with him in a field for like a day, and then there was loads of weird stuff around it, but he shot himself. That's how it ended. But he was a policeman, so he had access to guns anyway. But there are instances of guns happening, but it's very, very rare, and it's very, very shocking if you hear about it. But we could talk about the US, even though we're not qualified to talk about it. But I just don't understand why it's... so I do understand why people want them, is because everybody has them. I think... Me and Jack have talked about this before, because we've talked about moving to America before, and I think we had different views where you wouldn't want to have a gun, but I had the thing of being like, but if we lived there and somebody came in with a gun, we should probably have one, because then it's kind of like more of a fair footing. Obviously, if we actually got to that point, I don't think I'd ever want to have a gun near my home, but I understand that people want them because everyone has them, but that's why I don't understand why they're not banned. And it can be done. Like, I don't... People who saying it wouldn't work, you wouldn't be able to take them off people is rubbish, because we've done it, Australia's done it,
Most of
everyone's done it.
Yeah, most of Europe done it. If you look at Denmark or any country like that in that area, they obviously don't have so many guns and stuff like that as well. I do slightly agree with what you said though about like, if we lived in America, would we want a gun because other people have got guns? I don't think so, because I think if someone comes in your house with a gun, there's a chance you're gonna get shot. But there's probably the chance probably increases when you have a gun as well, because then it becomes a shoot off. If they're worried you're going to shoot them, they're more likely to shoot you, I think. So there's a balance there, I think. But
and I understand that people say, because I've heard the argument and stuff and like Steam interviews and stuff, and they're like, well, you have knife crime in England, and that's true, we do. We don't, because we're not London or a big city, but like Manchester and London do have very high rates of knife crime. But I feel more safe knowing that somebody's going to come and try and kill me with a knife than somebody's going to come and just shoot me. Like, the knife, they've got to be close to me, they've got to be like in the right position, I've got to like they've got to get past me. Whereas a gun, someone could be in my front garden and I could be in the back garden and someone could kill me.
The likelihood is, if someone stabs you, you've probably got a higher chance of surviving than if somebody shoots you because of the damage they do.
And also, it doesn't matter. You guys have knives. Like, I think it's such a stupid thing to be like, well, you've got knives. It's like, so do you.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a stat being like, when we banned knives, knife crime went up. But it's like, yeah, but it's still less than every single gun stat that you like Americans have over there.
Knife crime isn't a problem in America because gun crime's a bigger problem.
Yeah, why would you choose a knife when you've got guns?
I think when you're sending your kids to school in bulletproof vests and you've got, metal detectors on doors of schools and stuff like that, that's the point that you...
The memory card turned off, so I'm not sure where it finished. But what I was saying was even if you're not going to ban them, like, America needs better control of it, because the fact that 18-year-olds can go and buy it, and I think that people can just buy them in shops, is absolutely mental. Like, it should be like here, where only farmers can have them. You have to have a license, you have to have a lockbox, you have to have like documentation of where it is, when you've used it. Like, I just don't understand how people can just go buy one off the street. It's crazy. Assisted suicide. This is going to be an absolute nightmare to eat on this. I apologise if this is awful.
We did a lot about this in school as well.
Yeah, it was like a topic in RS, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And
there.
I think it's like the controversial opinion, isn't it? That's like push when you're in school kind of thing.
I think abortion and assisted suicide are the things that you talk about in lessons with teachers.
And I think it should be legal. I think there should again be limitations to it. Can't remember exactly what the controversial bits are of making it just legal.
You could people could manipulate people.
Yeah. Okay. So
like disabled people might not be able to have a say if they're going to die or not, things like that.
Yeah. So I think there's limits there, but I think it should be legal in a lot more cases than it is. Which is not legal at all. But there should be cases where, if you are of right mind and able to give consent for something like that, then it should be legal and checked by multiple doctors and stuff like that. And, I don't know, maybe you've got to get a license to do it, like to actually take action on it and stuff like that. There's a whole vetting process, but I think it's unfair. It's kind of the whole thing of like consent, isn't it? Where like if you don't consent to continue living, you should be able to make that choice. So I think there is a balance there. It's very unfair for people who are going through a horrible time and just do every day. Yeah, they should be able to make choices on what they want to do.
I think it comes down to whether you're pro-choice or anti-choice. And I'm very, very pro-choice. And I think it's ridiculous that people can't choose their own life. Like, if you're in like a, I don't know, I'm thinking of when it's been used in like media and stuff. Say you're in like a vegetative state where you could, well no, you're not vegetative, but you're completely paralysed. Yeah. And you can still communicate using like eye tracking and things like that. Like, I don't think I'd want to live in that circumstance. I'm not saying that everybody wouldn't, like, just personally, I don't think I'd want to live in that circumstance. And the fact that I don't get to choose whether, like, that's not my decision or not is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you in being like, it should be a massive process. I think it should be like, you've got to wait a year. You've got to have like multiple interviews with everybody in your life kind of thing. Not to like say if they're happy with it or not, just to make sure you're within your right mind and you are making that decision based off your choice. Because I completely understand that with disabled people it's a different conversation, where if somebody doesn't understand their own brain very well, they might not be able to make that, they might not understand like the gravity of what they're going to do.
No.
But I think it's heartbreaking that families have to go through situation. Like there was a guy in the news, I'm sure it was like either last year or the year before, and his family and him were just heartbroken because like they couldn't end his life in a way that they wanted to and with dignity and things like that. Like people try and kill themselves and it's just like, oh my god, like do it in a nicer way. Like they should be able to choose that and have dignity in their death rather than having to like overdose or whatever. Like they should be allowed to do it, and the government should give them not an easy way to get to that, but like giving you an injection and peacefully leaving rather than going out and having to take your own life in that way. I think it's awful.
I think, imagine having an amazing life, and then you get something, I don't know, I don't want to give particular examples, okay, but
yeah,
but you have something where you're just going to deteriorate and it's going to be very painful over, you know, years.
And nothing can be done about it.
Nothing can be done about it. You know that. Everybody knows that. There's not even, you know, maybe research.
A choice.
Yeah, there's not even research going into it because it's just such a thing where it can't be fixed. Yeah, you should be given a choice there because it's horrible to, especially for like not just for that person, because obviously it's all of that topic of what happens after death, but for that person, like that is kind of like an end point. But for the family as well, to see your loved ones have an amazing life and then all of a sudden have, you know, a couple of years or 5 years or even longer of just being like absolutely in pain every day.
It would break
constantly.
my heart to see you in agony every single day, and for you to not want to do it anymore, and for me to just be like, right, well you've got to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like it would be awful. I really think it should be legalised and should, again, like marijuana, then be then be monitored. What's it called? Yeah, monitored, controlled, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. The next one is the one from Fatima, where we weren't entirely sure what she meant. So she said 50-50 relationships and polarised relationships, and we did Google it when I put this question thing on, and it was just like I don't know. So I think it's when two people differ on a preference they have in a relationship. So like someone being religious and not being religious.
Right, okay.
Do you want to do the 50-50 relationship thing first?
Yeah, so is that what's that one?
I think it's just where you're 50-50 in everything. In a relationship.
Like what, like money wise?
Everything.
Right, okay.
I don't agree.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think it should be like equity rather than equality. So, where a good example, where Jack brings in a lot more money than me, so he pays a lot more for stuff than me, and he's fine with that. And it's the type of thing where we take the percentage of it. And if it's the type of thing where if Jack was away, this is because it's happened before, if Jack was working every single day and I wasn't, I'd be happy to do more of the housework or something like that. But if you're, I'm not saying I don't agree with 50-50 at all. If you're in a position where things are at 50-50, then it should be 50-50. Whereas I just think it should be like, I don't know, related to how much you put into whatever. In the beginning of a relationship, it's different with us. We've been together 11 years, so we are at that stage.
But even when we first moved out, we were a bit more.
Yeah,
We did that, so when we moved out, Sarah did make a little bit less than me. I can't remember exactly how much, but
can't remember. Less than you though.
yeah, we did a kind of thing where, you know, we have a joint account and all the money for the rent and utilities and everything. No, the cars we paid for individually, but
yeah, we have our own cars.
Yeah, everything else like that came out of that joint account, and we just put in what we could. So, we figured out the percentages of, you know, or the ratios are probably a better way of saying it, the ratios of how much money you make and how much money I make, and then for the £600 rent, then how is that split based upon those incomes? But yeah, so it changes over time, I think, as well. When you're together a lot longer, I think it matters less in most relationships, or in ours at least anyway.
Yeah. But I think that's fair. Like, if we were in the switch position, like, this isn't about gender or anything. If we were in the switch position, I'd expect the same. And it's not you require that. If I went out and decided I was going to buy something, I could do that without asking Jack. And Jack wouldn't have a problem with it as long as it wasn't like taking all of our money. I'd be like, by the way, I bought this. You'd be fine with it.
Yeah.
But I do that as a courtesy because I haven't brought in the money. So of course I would ask you.
I mean, I still do as well. Like, I don't go out and spend.
Yeah, you don't do it either.
I don't go
you
out
would
and
ask
spend
me.
money. I think I'd ask you more than you ask me, to be honest.
Yeah, and I don't bring the money in. You bring the money in. I don't know. I think it completely depends on your relationship and what you're happy with. Like, if you want to do it 50-50, regardless of equity in terms of, like, if someone's bringing in way more, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I understand if it's important to some people, but I don't think one person should have to suffer just because, and this isn't talking about me here, it's talking about other people, like I have other people in mind, but I just don't think one person should have to suffer just because they don't make as much money as the other person. And it does, if you are 50-50, you will be suffering more than the other person who brings in way more.
I think you just have to, it's kind of almost capping off the end of this question. I know there's not a part of it, but you kind of just have to have a conversation and be okay with it. I think communicate. If one is not okay with the way that money's being split or the way that you make decisions, you just need to communicate that and talk to each other about it.
I think it's completely down to your relationship. Whatever you want to do is fine.
Yeah.
But I think it should be equal in relation rather than just equal. Yeah? Polarised relationships.
So what's that one?
Where you have different opinions. Like if one person's religious, one person's not.
I suppose my opinion on it is that I think it doesn't matter. I think if you're comfortable with, as using religion as an example, if you're comfortable with your partner being religious when you're not, then that's fine. I think if you're not comfortable with it, I think that may say more about you than it does about them. I think everybody's got to respect everybody's opinions and beliefs and things like that. So it's a balance of it. Is it getting in the way of your relationship? It's like church becoming everything that person does. For example, they're not spending time with you, or they're not, or maybe they're being the other way around, where they're not respecting that you've got beliefs. And I think there's problems there, but I think you've got to be okay with it. I think it's fine to have different opinions, but you've just got to be okay with each other's opinions. When it comes down to certain things, though, as that's what you want kind of maybe want to mention.
I was going to say, but personally, for you, could you do it?
It kind of yes, I think I could with different opinions of people, but it kind of links in what I was going to say there, where
whether it's important to you or not.
Yeah, whether it's important to you or not. So like, for us, for both of us,
use religion if you want.
I'll use everything. So gender equality and
that's a good point actually.
Racism.
There's human rights, and then there's
all that kind
opinions.
of stuff. Yeah. There's kind of certain stuff that for me I've got boundaries on. Like, I wouldn't want someone who's homophobic, or I wouldn't want someone who's racist or anything like that.
As no one should.
Or is it for me? Because at the moment that's the problem from a lot of people.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's the type of thing where it's a balance of what your boundaries are, really. And I think we align quite well on that.
Yeah. So, for me, it's a little bit different.
Sorry, I just talked there, didn't I?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Because with my autism, I very, very, very much struggle with dealing with people who aren't like me. If you don't know autism, this is something that we all, well, I'm not going to speak for every autistic person, but a lot of us struggle with. And it's not something we can help, so please don't be like, oh Sarah, that's really close-minded. I literally can't help it. I am very hard-headed in my opinions. It's my way or the highway. That's how my assessor described it when she asked me the question. She was like, and with your opinions, is it my way or the highway? And I was like, yes. So I really, really struggle with people who have different opinions on me on big things. I can understand people being like, I don't like pineapple, and me being like, I do. It's the other way around. But I struggle with this anyway. So for me personally, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't do it.
I think an example of that isn't really opinion related. It hasn't really caused problems with her, but there's sometimes when you kind of, at the start anyway, I think you realise now that this happens, but like the way I process thoughts and the way that I think about things, initially a couple of times you kind of got annoyed that, well, I don't know if annoyed's the right word.
Frustrated.
But it was stressful for you that I wasn't thinking in a way that you think about something.
Yeah, that's how my brain works. Yeah. I don't get when people don't think the same as me. I don't understand it. It's just something that we have a deficit in our brains, that we don't understand how people can be different like that. But mine's to an extreme level. Like, it is extreme, and it's not good. I'm glad not everyone's like this, because even Jack liking different music and different comedy and different entertainment to me really, really stresses me out. I'll have moments where I'm like, Jack doesn't want to go see a musical, should I be with him? Like, it'll literally be that type of thing in my head. Or I'll be like, Jack found that joke funny, I don't like that, I don't think we should be together anymore. Like, it's that type of extreme for me. So personally, I couldn't do it, but I understand for everyone else that it could be done, but I definitely think that human rights shouldn't be involved in that.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be associating people with people who don't think everybody has the right to live.
I think a good example more recently is Andrew Tate. So there's a lot of people that we follow.
I wouldn't be friends with anyone who.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of people that we follow on Instagram, celebrities and
not me.
Not you.
It's all yours.
But celebrities and non-celebrities who followed Andrew Tate and still following him when everything was happening with that, with bans and things like that. And that's that type of thing where it's the kind of thing where
it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, I unfollowed them.
Yeah.
I just blocked them basically.
So we couldn't do it, but if it works for other people, crack away.
Yeah.
Like, people raise dual religion households and stuff, and things like that all the time. I don't understand it, but...
Yeah. And for me, I think you see over history, you see over history how religion has affected the world, in terms of wars and conflicts, but not just that, everything else.
Religion is a whole kettle of fish that we're not going to get into because we have quite strong views on it.
Okay.
I think, because we'll go down a rabbit hole. I know, we've talked for ages. Yeah. I'm sorry if this video is super, super long. I love stuff like this though. I love just sitting and talking about my opinions. Yeah. This is what I want to do with just friends. I'll just sit and be like, let's talk about something. I absolutely love it. So...
until you get a friend who doesn't agree with...
And then I just shut down. This is the problem with me. It's awful. Anyway, that's autism stuff. We'll talk about that in a different video. Anyway, we finished our food ages ago.
Yeah. My back's hurting because I'm not sitting on anything.
I know, we don't have a dining table, so we've just made like a
puffy
floor thing, and we're not used to it. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you understood our opinions. You are, even though I've said that it frustrates me, you are 100% allowed to have your opinion and disagree with us. But I understand if you don't like it, and if you want to unsubscribe, that's completely okay. Yeah. But if you...
I suppose if you want to voice your opinion, please do. But
yeah, that's what I was just about to say. If you want to have a discussion about it, I'll have a discussion with you. And if I'm wrong, I'm willing, I am willing to be wrong.
I mean, we're both open, you more because you probably see more, but we're both open to having constructive conversations about it, but don't go hitting on people for their opinions or anything like that.
Yeah.
In comment sections or anywhere else.
Yeah, but I will not stand for racism, homophobia, or transphobia or anything like that. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, please make sure to give the video a like. If you are new, please subscribe if you are new. Yeah.
If you're not new, just don't unsubscribe.
If you have any more suggestions of doing stuff like this, please let us know, because I really liked it. I like doing mukbangs and talking through stuff. Do another one, because I understand that a lot of my subscribers don't follow me on Instagram. So if you have an opinion that you want us to talk about, please comment on this video and we will do another video, or just any suggestions you've got. Right, I'm going to go up to the camera. Do you want to say goodbye to the people?
Goodbye to the people.
Thank you for watching. Bye bye.